Okay, we are live on Facebook. And let me make sure all of our sites are going live. So we'll be going on about 10 different networks, everybody. So you have the links already. So be prepared for us to start streaming, or should I say, to really kick this thing off in the next, I'd say about 2 to 3 minutes. So just hang in there. Okay, YouTube, I see you. Facebook, I see you. Pinterest, I see you. Twitch, Instagram, I see each and every one of you guys. I see you. Facebook, I see you. As you can see, my guest is already on the broadcast as well. We've worked out all the technical gremlins, and we will be getting started in approximately 2 minutes. So hang in there, everybody. We're just making sure that all the networks are keyed in and that we have you guys ready to go.
You don't. Hey, Kristen Ray. Hey, girl.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good,
That's
thank
good.
you.
Let me put this on so I can hear. Yeah, everything's. How you doing? How's everything?
So far, so good. Working hard and
Okay.
staying out of trouble.
Let me make sure we're looking good there.
Okay. Okay.
I want to thank and welcome everybody on this broadcast. As you can see, I am here with my beautiful wife, Tammy Blair.
Welcome, everyone.
And I want everyone to know that we will be getting started in about 45 seconds or less. So I'm just letting everybody have the opportunity to get on. So just hang in there and we'll be starting shortly.
Okay. I cannot hear Dr. Ray. And she was just talking to me, so I don't know what's going on with this.
Now let's do a sound check. Everybody that's on the broadcast, if you can hear me loud and clear, I want you to go ahead and say, hey, Tammy, Charles, Kristen, we can hear you guys loud and clear. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment in the comment section. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. Also, this is an opportune time to check in. So everybody that's on the broadcast, I want you to give me a thumbs up, give me a check in so I can call you out, let everybody know exactly who's on this broadcast right now.
Okay.
Mike Raseka, thank you, my friend. I can hear you loud and clear. Tori Kitchen, thank you, my friend.
I can't hear anything. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Mr. Tingle, the subject to master. Thank you, my friend, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Frank Overton, thank you for tuning in.
Oh, hey, Terry. Hey, hey, Nick Her. Hopefully, I didn't chop your name up too bad. Hey, Nick Her. Hey, Nick Her. Yeah. He told me he was gonna hear this.
Man, it is filling up fast. We will be definitely getting started in a second. Let me go up in this Facebook group.
Hey, Sean Anderson. How are you? Kathy R. What's going on? Good evening, everyone.
If you guys can hear us loud and clear, let's give us a check-in. Make sure you can hear us. I know we got a lot of people already responded so far. If you haven't responded yet, let me know if you can hear us. All my people on YouTube. I got over 56 people on YouTube right now, and I should be getting all the responses from you guys.
Sean from Florida. Hey, Sean from Florida.
Okay, everybody, it's about 5 after the hour. I think now is the time to go ahead and get started. We've kept you waiting long enough. As you can tell, I am live and in person with my beautiful my wife, Tammy Blair, and we want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning into this broadcast that's really going to be fantastic.
Yes, it is. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, so stay tuned. Get your notepads. Write down everything you want to talk about. If you want to talk to us later, we'll give you all the information. So let's get this going.
Now, remember, the key to this broadcast is you. So I definitely need the interaction from you so that we can make this an even exchange and share the knowledge from our guest who's going to blow your minds. I'm telling you right now, she is truly an inspiration. She's in the front lines right now, handling her business. And with that being said, let me introduce our guest, Miss Dr. Kristen Ray.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Tammy.
Dr. Ray, thank you for being on the broadcast. First and foremost, of course, we have to say thank you for your services right now that you're performing as a nurse practitioner.
Yeah,
Thank
as a
you.
nurse practitioner, and also what we forgot to tell you that Kristen Ray is a wife and she's also a mother. So she's wearing a lot of hats here. So we're gonna get all this good information from Kristen. She's gonna let you know she's on the front lines. She's a provider. She's caring for a lot of people, and then she has to make sure she doesn't bring this COVID-19 this virus home to her family members. So let's talk to her and see what's going on with all that.
Okay, before we get started, Bev, thank you for being on the broadcast. Lori, thank you for being on the broadcast. Felix, thank you for being on the broadcast. Mr. Cook Brown, thank you for being on this broadcast. Let's see, on the YouTube channels, on Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, we are covered live all over. William, again, thank you for being on the broadcast. Let's go ahead and get started. Dr. Christian, the biggest question I have that I know everyone in the virtual audience wants to know is, who is Dr. Ray Christian?
Who is Kristen
Ray.
Ray? Kristen Ray is, like Tammy said, I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a family nurse practitioner, and a real estate investor. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Now,
Okay.
I brought this question to you, just shoving it out there to you. You got to give us a little bit more than that. Just tease us just a little bit.
Okay. So those are pretty much all the hats that I wear. Currently, as Tammy mentioned, I am on the front lines, caring for people during the global pandemic. Um, and in addition to that, I am a buy and hold real estate investor. Those are the two main hats that I wear, in addition to being a wife and a mother.
And I know we had a little discussion earlier about how you got started in real estate. It came to you by way of inheritance. Go a little bit into that story.
Yeah, so I inherited a few rental properties in 2011. So at that time, for any mothers out there, I had a 6 month old baby. So I was still breastfeeding. I was in school for my master's, and my great grandfather passed, and he left myself and my brother some rental properties in Baltimore. At that time, we considered selling them, but it wasn't a good time to sell. So they were already rented. The same tenants are still there to this day, and they're doing fine. So we decided to hold on to them.
Give Tammy some
Um,
microphone angle.
so as the story progressed, one thing led to another. When I went back for my doctorate degree, a lot of people end up taking out loans. So instead, I did a cash out refinance on those properties and paid for my doctorate degree. So I don't have any student loans. And when I was able to do that, that was when I realized that I was doing something wrong and I needed to go more in depth with real estate.
Okay. So when you got thrust into the business, did did it hit you that this is where I want to be, or did it have to grow on you?
It had to grow on me because no, not 6 months. Working a 6 month old baby, breastfeeding, working two jobs, working night shift, and going to school all day. No, it did not feel like this is where I was supposed to be. Not at all. No, it had to grow on me definitely.
So it started out with the properties that you inherited. And
Mhm.
what was the next phase of your evolution? Well, first of all, let's continue down this path. What were some of the lessons you learned during those early days on those first couple of few properties you had?
Well, hindsight is 2020. I learned that we didn't know what in the world we were doing. The people that were there didn't even have leases. They were just like living there. But they weren't squatters. I think they had a lease at some point, but when my great grandfather passed, no one knew what was going on with the property. So we never found it. Since then, they have signed a new one, but um, I definitely learned something about property management, about also managing the tenants in their time of need. One of the tenants is an elderly lady,
Yeah.
so we tend to do some things to kind of help her out because she does live alone. And when I say help her out, I mean we'll shovel the snow. We'll send someone out to shovel her snow. Normally in the single family properties, we leave that up to the tenants, but because we know she's elderly, she's been there for a long time. We do send people out for that. And there was another time when looking to she was putting a TV stand up in her house. So I sent someone out to help her with that to kind of get it in the house and put it together. She doesn't have much family, so we've kind of done little things like that. But she's been there since mm, I think she moved there in like 1990 something.
Wow.
So she's been in that same house for a long time.
Got you.
So
So you went
that'll
from.
probably
Go ahead. I'm
uh,
sorry.
I was just saying that'll probably be her last stop. I don't think she's moving.
Okay, so you went from those few units to the next phase where I think you went into getting a couple of 2 unit properties, right?
Yes. So the next phase of the journey is the is where I got some bumps and bruises. I burned a property, student housing, it's a duplex over
Mm-hmm.
by Morgan State,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned about managing rehabs, managing contractors. Anyone who has talked to me knows about that story. So yes, I learned a lot from that property because the properties I inherited they were pretty much turnkey rentals. I mean, we just did a little patching here and there, but
Right.
they were maintained and already up and running. So we didn't really have to do anything other than an occasional maintenance call.
So you
But
jumped from properties that was pretty much turnkey to full blown rehab.
yes, yes.
And what did it teach you?
It taught me that if it's your first rehab, don't do a full rehab. Do something that's painting carpet. Don't go in and start knocking down walls. And also listen to your mentor when they tell you the first time that you probably shouldn't do that. if you don't have a mentor, listen to me. Don't do it. Um, it I would definitely say start off on a lighter foot and then work your way up.
That's true. Start up on a lighter foot, work your way up. That's some good advice. I think the
Yeah.
key point that everybody in the audience should take to heart is that when you're doing rehabbing, you got to have your ducks in a row. Yes, you can do it as a new investor, but you got to have a strong supporting cast behind you that can guide you through those trials and tribulations. Now, you went to the point of doing inheriting the properties and basically having a turnkey rentals to the point of doing full rehab on a 2-unit apartment building down in Morgan, to the point of now doing syndications and I have a 147 unit in South Carolina. What did that journey look like from the 2-unit to the 147 units? Where did your education take you?
So in between there, I also did a few wholesale deals sprinkled in between there. So when I first decided I was going to dive into real estate a little more, after I did the cash out refinance to pay for my education, I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I wanted to do multifamily. So I started with the 2-unit, and that taught me even more that I should do multifamily because so much work and effort that you put into it. I said, well, I could have more units for all the time it took me to do this. So I started doing my research, did some research, this did an educational program. I attended some conferences, um, and decided to move forward with the deal.
So, how did you know it was time? Because you'd only have experience with 3 to 4 projects where you actually did work in them, and at that point now you decided, okay, I want to get into big stuff. I want to get into large apartment complex. How did you know that the education that you gained at that point that you was ready to move to this level?
Well, I done some research. Also, with this deal, I also have partners. So that's another thing that I think is really good to leverage in real estate. Um, any niche that you decide you want to go into for the first time, if you find partners who have more experience in that sector, that's a good way to enter it because you'll bring your knowledge and skill set to the table that will complement their experience, knowledge, and skill set. And then you can build your dream team off of that. So that was the route I decided to take.
Speaking of your dream team, let's introduce us to the members of your team that you're working with right now.
Okay, so my team members primarily consist of my family, my husband, who's also a licensed realtor. My mom, she helps in the background. Um, Also, my other partners, I don't know if they want to be named, so I won't
Okay.
name. They're another syndication group as well.
Okay.
Um, as well as I have an accountant for the syndication team. We have an accountant, 2 attorneys, a syndication attorney, and a local attorney in South Carolina. Property management team, a contractor, and that project is also under rehab um, as well as some virtual assistants and leasing agents.
So you did all of this in a period of 3, 4 years. How did that, thinking in terms of from the start of where you began until where you're at right now, how important was education in that process?
That was extremely important. I think education and experience kind of marry themselves. The way I see it is in real estate and in life, you're going to pay one way or another. So you can either get some level of formal education or you're going to pay an experience, but everyone has to pay their dues.
Got you. I'm gonna do a shout out right now of all you guys who are out there in the broadcast. Terry, thank you for being on the broadcast. Jason, thank you for being on the broadcast. Kathy, thank you for being on the broadcast.
Everyone, thanks for being on the broadcast. Felix Baker, thank you. T. Lewis, we want to thank you. Jason Bowman, thank you for being on the broadcast. Mark Fuller, thank you so much. Watsy B, what's up, girl? Thanks. Michael Russ, thank you so much for being on the broadcast.
If you have any questions for Christian, please do not hesitate to ask. That's what she's here for, to make sure she gets all of your questions answered in regards to the path that we're going down. So let's go ahead and continue down this path. Let's talk about the 147 unit you have in South Carolina. How did you find that deal?
So networking, I met my partners through a friend initially, and we we went, we did dinner, and we talked about business, and um, realized we had some complementary skill sets. So we said, hey, something comes down the pipeline, maybe we could do a deal together. So something came down the pipeline, so we did a deal together, and it happened to be it was 146 unit in Columbia, South Carolina.
And how did the analyzing phase take place? Because I know when you say something came down the pipeline, how was that deal introduced to you? Was it from a wholesaler? Was it from a website? How did that deal come about?
That deal came off market through a broker.
Got you.
Brought us the deal. We were actually the only group that was privy to it, so it wasn't marketed beyond us.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we got wind of it, we did the underwriting for it. And then we went down, took a look at it, we did the due diligence process, and everything pretty much checked out. The sellers were very easy to work with. It was kind of a mom and pop shop. So they were very easy to work with, very easygoing. They didn't keep great records, but they were very easy to work with, and was a value add. So we're going to go in and basically rehab it and push the rents up. It was the rents are way below market because the sellers were keeping it well below market to keep it fully occupied for a
Mm-hmm.
long time. So they kind of did a lot of self management, and then they had like a part time person um, as a property manager, but that person didn't specialize in multifamily. They specialized in single family. So some things that were overlooked. So we saw a lot of ways we could add value to the property.
So what was the purchase price of the property you got in the contract for?
So the purchase price was 9.1 million. That was a 7.2 cap.
Hold on a second.
As
Hold
a
on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. So you went from uh, $70,000 2 unit property in uh, Morgan State University area to a how much was it? How many millions?
9.1.
$9.1 million purchase. That didn't scare you?
No. No. It's
Come
just adding zeros. No, it didn't scare me. Mm-mm.
now, you're being modest. So what did the due diligence part look like? Because I know you mentioned about going down to look at the property. Give us a snapshot of the kind of due diligence that it took to get you to pull the trigger on this deal.
So, first, the due diligence start off with, speaking with the seller, asking some preliminary questions, um, kind of assessing their motivation. We went down. When we do go down for the due diligence, we're going with a team. So we are doing lease reviews. We're looking in all the units. We have to do a phase one assessment, environmental, um, and get an overall picture of if there's any deferred maintenance for the property, um, and to see how much the rehab will cost, to come back and put all those numbers together, along with looking at the rent growth in the area, the population, and kind of teasing all these factors together to come up with a pro forma to see where the property is now and where we can take it.
How many actual site visits did it take for you to get down there before you pulled the trigger?
Well, they accepted the LOI before we got down there. Once we got down there,
Hold on, hold.
I,
You got to let people know what LOI is.
oh, it's a letter of intent. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a paper that says we're interested in purchasing the property, and it outlines the terms. So it's what you would put in before you put in your purchase and sale contract. Um, so once that was accepted, we went down to to begin the due diligence.
How long were you down in South Carolina for the due diligence? Was it just one trip or was it multiple trips?
Um, two trips, two trips. A lot of it your team will do, so you don't have to stay down there the full time necessarily.
And that's what I was getting at. The fact that you have a team in place where really you are basically overseeing the numbers that's being brought back to you. And then it's just a matter of finalizing everything down there with what you had to do.
Correct. Mhm.
Now, due diligence is done. You've got the numbers to the point. You said the cap rate was what? 7 point what?
We purchased it at a 7.2,
Okay, you had a,
and
go ahead.
yeah,
You had a
the
7.2
market.
performer right now. Where do you think it can go to year one, year five, year 10?
So we are conservative with our underwriting. So we purchased at a 7.2 for, we're going to hold it for 4 to 7 years. We're going to see how the market goes, but we have a nice long runway on that. Um, so conservatively, we projected that we will exit at a 7 cap. But most likely it'll be sub 6 based on the improvements that we're going to implement. But even in a worst case scenario that we were to exit at a 7 cap, we would still be profitable.
Now I'm gonna give you a shout out right now because your husband is so proud. Brian says, "That's my wife. That's my wife right there."
Oh my gosh.
Listen, he said he's so proud of you, and it shows when you guys are together. We spent time with you guys. Maybe beat y'all up with the was that the Monopoly?
That was Monopoly.
Oh
Yeah,
my
the
god.
investor star Monopoly. Yeah, and
Oh,
it shows that he
all
is
the
very
houses
proud
in
of you. Yeah.
Monopoly. All of them. We were homeless.
It was my wife. She's a shark. You got to admit it. She's a shark. Now we got
Making deals in Monopoly. Homeless.
we got a couple of questions. Let's see. First question is, how was it financed? And that was a question by Sean.
Okay, Sean. So, bank financing for a portion of it. In terms of the equity raise, we raise private equity through our investors, and of course, the sponsors we have to put in a certain amount of capital as well.
Now that's the key point right there because people don't understand that if you have something tangible, something that is presentable to your investors, it really isn't all about your experience because you only had 3 years worth of experience, so you was able to raise this capital on a $9 million business deal.
Yeah.
What? Well, you making it sound like it's so easy.
No, I didn't say it was easy. I
So,
didn't say.
so
I
tell
was just agreeing with you.
so tell Sean about some of the challenges you had convincing those investors to roll the dice with you.
Well, some of my investors have done other deals with me before in terms of private lending.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, in terms of raising capital and reaching out to private lenders for any reasons, it's about trust. I mean, you would not realistically expect too many people that don't know you outside of maybe your close family and friends to hand you over $50,000 just because they like your blue shirt. So
Right.
it takes time to build those relationships, and it takes time to earn that level of trust. And you basically have to make them feel comfortable, let them know, if I have to cut off my right arm, if I have to sell a kidney, I will make sure you get your money back.
Right.
But it takes time. There's no shortcut to that, I don't think.
I agree with you. Let's see. Uh, Crook wants to know how difficult was it to start a project in another state?
um I wouldn't say it was necessarily that difficult. It's you do your research in advance, of course. So if you look at a market that's out of state, know your numbers in terms of the population, what the rents are going for, in terms of um, who's going to be your tenant, who's going to be your ideal customer. So doing your research is definitely going to be key. But if you do your research, I don't think it's any more challenging than doing it locally. Only thing I would say is if you're going to do it out of state, personally, I would do, more units at one time. I think if your ROI may go down significantly if you're trying to manage just like one or two houses out of state,
Mm-hmm.
just with the additional cost of the property management and things like that. But if you're doing a larger project out of state, as long as you're really tight on the economics and the the rents and everything that goes into it, I think you'll be fine.
Got you. What do you think right now, based on just closing on these deals a couple weeks ago, closing on this 146 unit in South Carolina a couple weeks ago? How do you think, or have you already factored in how the coronavirus and the pandemic is going to affect what you're doing in South Carolina? How did you determine it was time to pull the trigger, that it was still a go?
Well, the trigger was already pulled and Corona just popped up. I mean, so we were in the middle of everything, well, more towards the tail end of everything
Mm-hmm.
when the pandemic hit. So we were already down the rabbit hole, basically. In terms of how it will affect it, this particular property, 32 or 35% of the tenants there are subsidized. So
Nice.
as of last Friday, we had 75% of the rents were in.
Not
So,
bad.
so yeah, so most of the rent has come in for this month.
And how much occupancy did you have to begin with?
We closed at 97% occupancy.
Nice. So you saw in that occupancy a gap, a window of opportunity based on the fact that the market, the properties was rented well below market. You could do some forced appreciation. You're going to get these properties renovated. You also plan on refinancing. How long do you see this project going from the point of starting starting the actual rehab to finishing all 146 units?
Well, with COVID, it's going to slow down the interior portion,
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons. We've begun on the exterior, but pre-COVID, we predicted a year and a half to 2 years to turn all the units and do the outside.
Gotcha.
With COVID and everything being on lockdown and et cetera, we really don't know exactly how long it's going to take at this point. So we're focusing on the outside right now. Construction is already underway, and the vacant units will turn those, but everything else will do as people move out.
Got you. Now, Clive wants to know what led the broker to sharing the South Carolina opportunity exclusive with you. Did you have some kind of relationship with that broker, or was it just a luck of faith of luck?
No, it was a pre-existing relationship.
Got you. Uh,
Clive Davis. You ready? Because I can't hear.
Road wants to know how's the Columbia market compared to the Baltimore.
Um, that's a loaded question. It's
Now, I guess what he really wants to get around is, because I know it is, because it's based on the actual class of property. He wants to go into the ROI and cap rate, but I know that's a product of A, B, C, D class style property, so it's really a general question. I'm not sure if you're able to answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question needs to be a little more specific. But it's two totally different markets. I mean, it's nothing like Baltimore, in my opinion.
So, Rob, you heard it from Dr. Ray herself. Just go a little bit more specific in your question. Keep those questions going, guys. Now, if you guys think this is some great information, you know what I need from you. I need some hearts. I need some great information. I need some likes. I need some yeah, boy. I need to keep it going because we need some energy up in here. And you guys provide the energy for us to keep going based on your comments. So give us some comments. Let us know what you think. Bring those questions. Keep it going because we're going to continue this conversation.
Right, and let's just say hi to. There's a couple more people that joined us. Tammy, hi, how you doing? Miss D, how are you? And then I think I saw Maria. Say hi, Maria. Hi to Maria as well. Thanks for joining the broadcast.
Also, Clive, thank you for being on the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, thank you for being on the broadcast. Let's see who we have over here.
Art Small, thank you so much for being on here. Rod King Matthews, thank you. Waddell Conley, how are you? I think that's basically we already seen Mike, Art, yes. So yeah.
Art wants to know, can you discuss a little bit more about the syndication group you guys formed, how it came to be, and so on?
So basically, it was my company as well as my partner's company. We came together and formed the management company. When we purchased the property, that goes in a separate LLC. So the short version is the lawyer does a bunch of paperwork. But basically, you have the management LLC, you have the another LLC with your investors, and then the property has an LLC, and they all join forces.
Got you. And what was your individual roles in that company? And what is still are the roles based on the South Carolina property?
So for me, my role was due diligence, capital raising, and asset management are my primary roles.
Okay. And what about your husband?
My husband, he did some of the underwriting. He's the number cruncher. Um, and that's primarily was his role. He did a lot of the underwriting.
So, which brings me to the next question. How is it working with a spouse doing such a large project like this? Was there any hair pulling and all that good stuff going on?
No, he's bald like you, Charles. No, he was good to go. I mean, um, a lot of the things I think is fun. So, I'm doing a lot of the capital raising, the due diligence, the asset management. He's the numbers guy. I'm kind of the back of the napkin numbers person. And when I need to really tease it all the way down and out, that's my guy. He goes deep into the numbers. So we have complementary skill sets.
That's the same thing with my company. My wife and our company. She's the one that crunches all the numbers. She's the saver. If it wasn't for her, I don't know how financial we'll be floating because she's the one that says, okay, this is what you should do, and so on and so on. What are you guys working on right now? Because I know you got a couple of wholesale projects out there, a couple of rehab projects out there. What do you guys have in the actual kidder right now?
So right now we're rehabbing a buy and hold property in Bel Air, Edison, near my other rentals, and and yes, and I have a few wholesale deals under contract, and I have a few more in the pipeline. So just picking up deals here and there. I'm curious to see where the market is gonna go over the next year. Listen to various economists. I'm predicting that it may be a buyer's market. So I'm a buy and hold investor. So I'm looking forward to any price decreases so I can pick up some more rentals for cash flow.
What makes you say or makes you pull the trigger on the market that you want to go into? Is it economics? Is it geographic? Is it What is it? What exactly says, okay, this is what I'm looking at, and I'm going to go ahead and get into this market? Was there anything that in particular that made you decide the numbers was perfect in South Carolina?
Well, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, was one of the markets we had been studying previously. So what we basically did was look at some of the major cities and some of the smaller cities throughout the country. We look at their demographic information. We look at employment. We look at income, um, levels of education, crime. It's a whole long list. It's a whole spreadsheet that I have of the different criteria that we look at. And we tease that out for markets all across the US. In addition, we look at acquisition costs, cap rates, and decide from there which markets we want to go to. Another criteria that I have is no more than a 2-hour plane ride. So I won't be picking up anything in Las Vegas unless there's a partner over that way that wants to do business. But I also look at it as where the properties are, can I get there and back in a day? So it's pretty similar to single family in terms of some of the things that you will want to look at in terms of the demographic and things like that. It's just on a larger scale.
Got you. Now, thinking in terms of where we are right now, are you got any other big projects in the hopper? I know you got the rehab you're working on, and I know you got a couple of wholesales. Is there any other things that's under wraps right now that you guys are currently doing due diligence on?
We're always looking, but I haven't seen anything that I'm ready to pull the trigger on. Um, Someone sent me a multifamily in Atlanta, Georgia the other day, but the numbers didn't look too good. So we're always looking, but I don't have anything else right this minute that I'm ready to pull the trigger on. But if anyone out there is listening, we are looking for deals.
What do you see as the forecast for you and Vital Investments LLC as far as the next 2 to 3 years? How many more units are you looking to acquire?
So the next few years, we would like to do another syndication, and I would also like to pick up a few more smaller rentals as well locally.
Uh, Art wants to know how much was the down payment on this deal that you did in South Carolina?
The equity 25%. So the bank lent at a 75% LTV. The rest of the equity we had to either put in ourselves or raise.
Sean wants to know how did you come across the wholesale deals? Did you already have buyers for those properties?
How did I come across them? So we did some marketing, and a few wholesale deals actually have a partner who came to me that I met at a networking event, and he wanted to um, JV. So I'm doing a few deals with him. And and I'm also doing two short sales. I forget short sales take so long, I forget about them.
Yeah.
Also, I have two short sales that I'm working on too. Um, so those I found doing marketing myself, and I have two other um, wholesale deals that I'm JVing on.
Now you're getting down to the nitty gritty. What are some of the marketing strategies that you use to find your opportunities, your deals, and so on?
So as of lately, we did some cold calling and some direct mail.
So direct mail do work, doesn't it?
It does. Yep.
Okay.
My very first wholesale deal I got through direct mail.
As a as a nurse practitioner, what does a day look like from the hospital to the boardroom? What does that day look like?
Chaos. So it starts off at 3:30 a.m. I get up, I had to be to work at 5. So I get up, get to work, get some coffee. I go in, I do some preliminary work. Then I'll go out and I'll do rounds if I have any patients who are admitted to the hospital. I've had a few that were admitted for COVID-19. I'll go round on them, update their orders, do whatever I need to do with them. Then I go back to the clinic where I spend the rest of the day seeing people on an outpatient basis, everyone from newborns to the elderly. I'll do that till about 5 p.m. Then I'll go home, take my clothes off, take a shower because I have germs everywhere. And then I put on my other mommy hat. I'll do that till about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Tell me that
Then I
she's
put on my
there
real estate hat.
because I still hear her talking. So, Kristen, Clive Davis said to hit him up if you're ever looking for any investing opportunity in Atlanta. And Sean Edison thinks it's awesome. And then there's a Frank Amo, and he said, "Are you currently looking for investors to come in on deals? And if so, how do we get in contact with you?"
Now that's a person want to know if you're looking for investors to get in on deals. How can they reach out to you?
So you can email me or I'm on Facebook. You can send me a message. Also, I can be reached by email, info at Vital, VITAL, Vital Investment Partners at, yeah, info at vitalinvestmentpartners.com. I'm sorry, I've been up since 3:30.
That's okay. That's info at vitalinvestmentpartners.com.
.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or
And
you can
Deborah
shoot me a
Dent
message
said
on Facebook.
congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, here's the $1,000,000 question.
Okay.
I want to know tomorrow, when you get up tomorrow morning, or if, and let's leave out as far as being in the hospital tomorrow. What's the first thing you're going to do in your business?
Tomorrow is Tuesday. The first thing I'm going to do in my business will probably be around 2 o'clock when I go check on my rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's another thing I left out during my day. I run over and check on my projects on my lunch break. So that'll probably be the first thing I do for my business. Probably around 2 o'clock, I'll go check on my contractor.
It's the same thing, nothing.
Okay, I think, let's see. Frank asked the question already. Deborah said, congratulations.
Thank
Mike
you.
says, how many investors are involved in your deal?
To get a count, if I had, I want to say maybe 70-ish. So we did a 506B, meaning you can have 25 non-accredited investors and unlimited accredited investors. So I think somewhere in the realm of 70 investors. Most of them are accredited.
Mike, I hope that answers your question. Now, Mike is a note guy. Do you see any notes in your future? I know you're very
Yeah,
diverse. There you go.
absolutely. Absolutely. My husband wants to do notes. As soon as we slow down, yes, I definitely see notes in our future. Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Mike is the note king in my book. We've done a lot of things together, so I'll definitely turn his information over to you.
And he
Thank you.
cooks a mean roast. I'll have you know this.
He does cook a mean roast.
A mean roast.
Okay, let me know as far as if you're going to talk to the investors that are listening right now and they want to get involved in the business. What some advice would you give them?
Actions speak louder than words. Do it. Don't. I heard someone say one time, say yes and figure the rest out later. Do it. Experience is going to trump everything else. You can read all the books you want. You can listen to all the podcasts. You can do all those things. You have to get out and actually do it. So if there's something you want to do, if you don't know where to start, find someone who's doing it and see if they want to partner. See what you can bring to the table to complement their skill set and their business. And they'll, more than likely maybe willing to work with you. And if one person says no, just ask somebody else. Keep doing it until you get a yes. So you'll get a lot more no's than you will yeses, but don't let that discourage you. Just keep on going because I got a lot of no's before I got a yes. So just keep doing it despite any difficulties that you may experience along the way.
Okay, we got a couple more people that just came on the broadcast. Want to shout them out?
Yeah, let's shout out. We want to thank Alice Washington for joining us. Gary McKinnon. Terene, go ahead. Terene Bonds just joined. Thanks for joining the broadcast. And what's somebody said?
Henry, thank you for being on the broadcast. Give me some of the books that you have read, you've studied, that really impacted you and basically where you're at right now and what you're doing in the business.
Oh my gosh. There have been so many books. Off the top of my head, Anatomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
What else would I say? I like the 4-Hour Work Week. It's part fantasy, part practical.
There you go. I believe, I cannot believe someone has a 4-hour. I agree with you 100%.
It's part fantasy, but there are some practical things you can implement from the book.
Right.
But if you actually get it down to 4 hours and you're profitable, give me a call. The one thing I felt like was very profound for me, as someone who wears a lot of different hats, I'm always doing this and doing that and touch and go, but it always brings me back to, okay, why are you doing this? Focus. What should you be doing right now? So I feel like the one thing by Gary Keller
Gotcha.
that was um that was monumental for me. And there's another one, I think it was Principles. Yes, I forgot the author though. That was also a good one.
Okay.
Um, Kristen, there's a Gregory Grady. He'd like to know how much capital is needed to start wholesaling or investing.
To start wholesaling, I think Charles would probably give you a better answer than I could. I think I started my first wholesale deal. I think I spent about $1,000 to get one deal the first time I did it.
How long did it
What
take you to get that one deal?
did I would say maybe a month, month and a half.
And what was the return on that $1,000?
6,000. Not bad.
Okay, okay. 5 times, not bad.
Yeah.
Art has a question.
Art wants to know. Art Small would like to know what type of properties are you looking for in Baltimore?
So in Baltimore, I'm looking in Class B and C neighborhoods. I like Bel Air Edison. I like Emerson Village. I'm also looking at Baltimore County as well, Essex, Dundalk, um, and over by the Morgan area, student housing. I like that area as well.
Are you currently right now? Do you have any virtual assistants on your team right now?
Yes, right now I have 3 virtual assistants.
And what kind of tasks and activities do you have them doing?
Oh, I get really creative with virtual assistants these days. um, this is aside from the multifamily purchase because we have them doing some screenings and things like that. But
Hmm.
I have them doing some marketing. One of them is teaching my daughter Spanish, and she's also she manages my calendar, my appointments. What else I have been doing? I have another one who is really good at writing, so she does some of my literature that goes out to my investors. I'll do an audible, and I'll send her the recording, and she'll type it up, make it really nice. So she helps me draft newsletters and things like that. But pretty much anything that can be done from a computer, you can get a VA to do for you.
And how did you wind up finding your VAs?
I get all of them from Upwork.
Upward.
Hmm.
What is some of the tools that you're currently using in your business?
So some of the tools I'm using, I use Podio. Um, I use Google a lot. Um, Google Voice, Google Drive. That's pretty much it. I think I pretty much get. Oh, I use Canva as well,
Okay.
to create
Right.
different. I've used that.
So I know you're doing
And
some cold calling. You don't use any cold calling tools, or you just basically doing it the old-fashioned way.
sometimes I use Mojo. I forgot about Mojo. Yes,
Gotcha.
sometimes I use Mojo Dollar. It depends on the list I'm calling. Some of the lists are shorter. Some of them I'll dial by hand, but most of the time, when I'm doing a mass list, I'll do Mojo.
So you're actually doing the cold calling yourself, or you have your VAs doing it?
Oh no, I have my bees. Once it's a warm lead, then I'll call them.
Got it.
I'll take some time aside. But while it's cold, no, it's a bloodbath. I don't even want to. If you heard those calls, you wouldn't want to do those calls. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you're picking it up once it becomes a warm lead. Um,
Yes, once it's a warm lead, if my warm lead list isn't too long, I'll dial those by hand.
okay. Gotcha. That's very. I like that. I like that a lot. Any questions you have, Ted?
No, because I'm hearing this side of the conversation, not her side, so I don't have any questions.
Okay. On the book, Deborah wants to know who's the author of the book, The One Thing. Do you remember who the author was?
Gary Keller.
Gary Keller, Deborah.
Gary Keller. Yep. I think he owns Keller Williams, the brokerage. Yep. Gary Keller. That book was really good.
Now, come on, guys. This has been some fantastic information. So I need some hearts. I need some loves. I need some wows. I need some likes. I want to see it all right now coming through the broadcast. And I'm looking for a couple more questions from you guys because I don't want to hound it up with all the questions. We got over 160 plus people on this broadcast tonight, and I want to hear it from you guys. Give me those questions. You have questions about syndication. You have questions about multifamily. You have questions about wholesale and rehabbing. I mean, Dr. Kristen Ray is doing it all right now, so be sure to bring those questions out there. Beto, thank you for being on the broadcast, my friend. Deborah, thank you for being on the broadcast over on Instagram and Twitter. Reggie, thank you for being on the broadcast. Carlin, thank you for being on the broadcast. Mr. Cook, thank you for being on the broadcast. Grady, thank you for being on the broadcast. Let's see. Sir Browser, thank you. Sean, thank you. Clive, Mike. I mean, you guys are filling it up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The question I know everybody wants to know, if a person is thinking about doing this business, what do you think is the path of least resistance for that new investor? What do you think they should be doing first before they get to syndication or whatever you're doing right now?
The path of least resistance is probably turnkey rentals. You could pick one of those up. That, I mean, from my experience, that was, well, if the person that did your turnkey rental picks good tenants, that's probably the path of least resistance, followed by wholesaling. It's definitely not rehabbing. That's probably not going to be your path of least resistance.
Kristen, Clive Davis is asking, are you working on your autobiography?
Not yet. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
girl, come
Not
on
yet.
there.
Because 3 years, 4 years in the business, 146 units, plus the wholesale deals, plus the rehab deals, plus the short sales. I mean, it's incredible.
Not yet. I'll put that on my list though.
Now, I know that your husband is a realtor. Are you also a realtor as well?
No, I'm not. No, he became a realtor shortly after I finished my doctorate degree. I couldn't imagine studying for another test. So so he did it.
So I'm going to ask you that question. Do you think a real estate investor should get their real estate license or not?
I don't think it's necessary. If you are in partnership with a good supportive realtor, I don't think it's necessary. Um, we hadn't found one that was particularly supportive, so one of us decided to pursue. But it's definitely not necessary. If you have a good agent, I would keep them and be partners with them because that's a whole nother skill set instead of relationships you could leverage.
Kristen, we have some other real women of wealth that just joined us. We have Adrienne Chavis and Sharice Jacobs. They just joined and they're just saying how awesome it is and all that good stuff.
I definitely want to shout out to Adrian in the Chariot Group. Fantastic tenant placement company. Definitely give her a holler.
Yes. Hi, Adrienne. Adrienne is also a big inspiration. If you get a chance, y'all should talk to her.
You ain't kidding. I agree with you 100%.
She's a rock star.
So what's next?
So what's next? Finishing up the deals that I'm working on, always looking for new deals. Right now I'm also kind of seeing what's going on in the market. People are screaming the sky is falling, of course. But I haven't seen prices fall with the sky. So I'm waiting to see what happens with that. I've seen lending drying up a little bit lately. So um, still looking for deals and watching the market carefully.
Clive said, don't be so humble. You're a star.
Oh,
A
thank
rock
you.
star.
Now, last but not least, this is my last question. Guys, if you have any questions, ladies, if you have any questions, put them up there. But my last question is going to be on the subject of how can someone reach you if they want to do business with you, if they want to be a part of your syndications, if they want to just reach out to you? How can they reach you?
You can email me. You can send me a message on Facebook. Um, you can email me at info at vital, VITAL, Vital Investment Partners with the S.com. Kristen Ray, KristenRay on Facebook. I actually get a lot of investors from Facebook. You can send me a message on there. Um, I check that at least once a day. I'll hit you back, and that's pretty much it. I'm pretty easy to get in contact with.
Tammy, you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to tell her that she is awesome. She's phenomenal and continue to shine. I mean, and with these people that's reaching out to you, I would say to tell the serious-minded people to reach out to you because you're a doctor and a real estate investor, and I'm sure you don't have time for if it's not like a serious situation, right?
I agree. Thank
Everybody
you,
got time to waste.
In other words, don't bring no junk.
That's right. Person ain't got time.
So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being on this broadcast this evening. My wife and I are totally blessed that you guys have made it. Tammy, you want to say something to everybody that's listening?
I mean, just tell everybody to, do the best they can. Let's keep being safe, doing everything that they told us to do. Kristen, you have any pointers for anybody as far as the, being safe with the COVID and all that?
Yes. So okay. So I've seen some unfortunate events with COVID lately. There is a rise in cases in the 21215 area, and we're starting to see some trends east. Please stay in the house. I know it's getting nice outside. Please stay in the house. If you're not running out of groceries, please stay in the house. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. It's unfortunate, what's going around right now. I know a lot of people are getting antsy. It's getting nice outside, but if you care about yourself, if you care about anyone else, stay in the house. The virus is airborne, meaning that if you're just walking along and someone coughs and they're within 6 feet or less of you, you could catch it. It's highly, highly contagious. Um, Stay in the house. The sooner everyone cooperates, the sooner this can be over. Sometimes when I'm driving around the city and I see people gathering around the corner stores, I already know. I mean, it's going to continue until um, everyone follows the recommendations of the healthcare providers. We're not here telling you all this because we don't have anything else to do because we have plenty to do. Stay in the house and wash your hands. Thank you.
Hey guys, and if you appreciate, I know you do, the work that our healthcare providers are doing, give some love to Dr. Christian Ray right now. Give some love
Yes.
to my wife Tammy
Amen.
Blair right now because they are doing a fantastic job on the front line. So I want you to give them some love on this broadcast. Heart it up, like it up. And I know we got one final question, and that question comes from Mr. Sir Bowser. And Sir Bowser wants to know what kind of cash on cash are you looking for your multi units?
For multi, we try to get the investors around 15 plus percent cash on cash.
Got you. Frank wants to know, as a person looking to get into real estate, should I quit my normal job and go all in, or set an exit strategy to quit my job?
I'm a planning type of person. I would definitely not abruptly say quit. I mean, unless you have the means to do so. But particularly not right now while we're experiencing a global pandemic and no one knows where is going right now. I wouldn't recommend quitting any sources of income that you have at the moment. I would recommend doing a transition. I mean, because you could get in it and you might not like it. So I would set up a plan to transition. You could set up a more modest plan and then maybe do a more aggressive plan, but definitely a transition. I wouldn't just let them quit.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you on behalf of my wife and I, as well as Dr. Christian Ray. We appreciate you guys for being on this broadcast tonight. We are about to call it quits. I want to thank you guys again. If you have any interest in reaching out to us, please reach out, and don't forget to follow us on the YouTube channel, Charles Blair. Follow us at Real Deal Meetup, at The Real Deal Meetup. You can reach my wife and I there as well. And of course, you can reach us on Facebook. This is Charles Blair and my beautiful wife,
Tammy Blair.
and Dr. Kristen Ray. Dr. Kristen Ray, thank you for being on this broadcast. I know you're busy, super busy, so we appreciate your time. And we'll see you guys on the next DURU interviews. Bye-bye.